Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sophia Wardell, and today we have a very special guest, best-selling author and branding expert, Ella Parlor. Ella Parlor is the best-selling author of High Tolerance. Ella specializes in data-driven strategies, brand building, driving sales, and change management by championing the people behind the products. Thanks for joining us today, Ella.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So today I want to discuss with you marketing and distribution. So I first want to ask, how can I, as an author, leverage niche communities or subcultures to market my book?
I always say the riches are in the niches. You want to figure out your niche and you have it. You are so individual as a person, and that means that your story is individual, and so your book is individual. And so your niche is going to be at the intersection of your passions, where you're making money, where you have the most fun, whatever that might be, plus your message, right? Your takeaway key message to your target audience. That's how you're going to find your niche. One of the concerns with building a niche community is that once you start expanding, right? People might use this word sell out. Oh, she sold out, right? Because if you started a niche and then you grow, you might alienate your core target audience. So I would caution not to make your audience so very specifically niche. Like if you're targeting like farmers who love whiskey and surfing, that might be a little too niche. Like maybe
Right.
keep it to like farmers, farmers of America, and not get too specific because you risk alienating your core audience on the after fact when your brand inevitably grows as long as you keep doing the work. So it's incredibly important to also make sure that again, whatever your message is, it's authentic to whoever your core audience is. It wouldn't make sense for me to target farmers of America when I have no personal connection to farmers of America. If I'm just targeting a market because it's trendy or convenient in the moment, that is not authentic and that doesn't align with my values, my ethos, my outputs. And so making sure that whatever niche that you decide to lean into, that it truly does align with who you are at the core. It's not out of convenience, it's not out of what's trendy. Trying to relinquish the let me target what's trendy in the moment is where the products and books you create are not going to age well.
Right, right. They're going to be things of the past, not timeless songs or timeless books or timeless poems. Yeah. No, that's great insight. And on the topic of growing and expanding, what strategies could I as an author employ to capitalize on local or regional markets?
I will say that in the writing process, you want to start planting seeds before your book is even done, because this is how you can start building an audience and building a network. The writing community is such a beautiful, creative, intelligent, intellectual community. And so
Mm.
start dipping your toes into that. Look up local bookstores, look at the events that they're having. The internet has a plethora of online events, in-person events, and start looking at where is my target audience? Where are my people? There are a lot of people, billions of people in this world, millions of people in this country. You have people. So all you have to do is find them. And I would say that relying on writing communities, social media, it's a really great way to find them. And then you can get advice, support, and various anecdotal evidence of the type of success that you are capable of.
I want to zero in on bookstores just for a second. So, how did you get into and like connected with bookstores?
Getting into independent bookstores, back to, just taking risks and really believing in yourself, it takes a tremendous amount of confidence. And I think this is why, the average writer, first of all, only 2% of the US population ever publish their own book. There's a reason why it's a very small population.
Wow.
Furthermore, the average writer sells less than 200 books of the book that they publish in their lifetime. And while 200 books sold is amazing, it's a great metric, it's not it's not the best metric, right? And
Mhm.
part of that is because authors really don't lean into the fact that there is going to be a level of selling yourself.
Mhm.
Selling yourself. And so don't expect that anybody else, not Amazon, not Barnes and Noble, not your publishing partners, that anybody else is going to sell your book. It is going to be your job to sell your book. And part of that is going to be pounding pavement,
Mm.
knocking on doors, taking the confidence with your book in hand and walking to independent bookstores and saying, hey, this is the unique selling position of my book. This is why I'm a local author. This is why I think you should carry my book. If you don't agree, would you mind letting me know why? I'll be back tomorrow. And really getting comfortable knocking on doors. And that is a part that I think a lot of authors, we get analysis paralysis, we get overwhelmed, we get very shy. And so what do? We amputate the growth of our book because we're so afraid of rejection and we're
Mm.
afraid of failure. My book is available in thousands of independent bookstores for order because I partnered with a distribution partner that works with independent bookstores. And so I was able to leverage that partnership. But even besides that, to get the actual placement of my book on the shelves, almost every single bookstore that brought me in, it was because I physically went into the store, looked at who their target audience was, looked at who their core consumer was, and said, hey, this is how my book aligns with what your consumer is looking for. That
Mm.
requires a little bit of self-awareness, but it requires a whole lot of confidence. And so I think just mentally preparing yourself for that, and that's why building a community will help build that confidence because you can get more introductions like, "Oh, I know the owner of this bookstore and have you seen that bookstore?" And people are rooting for you and your success. Don't focus on the rejection. Trust that there are a lot of people who want to see you succeed and they're going to help you, but you got to knock on the doors.
I love that. Talk about fostering your own word of mouth promotion. Yeah. And I also want to know if you have any more strategies that you used for fostering ongoing reader engagement and, further word of mouth promotion.
I will say one of the most successful ways that I have been able to get several book sales at one time is going to be book signings. So, back to what I was saying, this requires a tremendous amount of gumption and confidence. I am a very confident person. I am a public speaker. I don't mind a crowd. I don't mind an audience. I am far from shy. But doing book signings is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Harder than writing the book, harder than graduating college, harder than moving to a city by myself. It
Wow.
is really difficult because you're sitting there and you're vulnerable and you're in such a vulnerable state. You're sitting there and someone says, "What's your book about?" And you have to sell them on the spot and you have to read their reaction. And it's not a product that somebody else made. This is you, your mind, your brain, your thoughts, your values, your message. And then that
Right.
person might walk away and go, not for me. And you have to be able to just stomach that and move on. And it is so hard and so cringy, but I say cringe and do it anyway. That's a Brene Brown quote, by the way. Cringe and do it anyway. And trust again that there are people rallying for you, supporting you, and someone who needs your story is going to be so grateful that you took that risk because it's criminal to hide your story from people who need it.
Yeah, I love that. There will always be people that aren't interested, but there will be lots that are. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's interview with best-selling author and branding expert, Ella Parlor. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.